Here's to the land of the longleaf pine, the summer land where the sun doth shine, where the weak grow strong and the strong grow great. Here's to down home, the old North State. Those familiar first few lines of the official North Carolina toast, adopted by the General Assembly in 1957, fittingly recognize one of our state's oldest and most upstanding citizens, the longleaf pine. The longleaf once covered much of the Southeast like a tall green blanket, back when it was known as pitch pine and monarch of the woods. It was the longleaf that provided most of the plentiful naval stores used in shipbuilding in the Tar Heel State and elsewhere. Today, longleaf stands like these near southern pines are greatly diminished. But this stately tree now produces an annual North Carolina crop familiar to most of us: pine straw.
We have nature's finest mulch here. It lays well, buffers soil temperature. It is a natural product. You don't have to cut a tree to get needles. This is an annual product. This is an agricultural product.
Well, the source for starting the trees comes from the tree itself. If you looked up in these trees, you would see pine cones. Some are opened up. They drop seed last fall in November, December time frame. You might look a little closer and see a cone that's just budding out that'll mature in the next year or two to produce those seeds.
After the magic of fertilization, longleaf seeds end up on the forest floor, where they are nourished by the decayed needles from previous years. In time, they germinate and produce tufts of needles that look more like grass than baby pines. But most commercial growers today rely on a more organized version of the natural process in order to get seed in reliable quantities.
Clary's Nursery was put here in Goldsboro in 1954 to provide the citizens of North Carolina with tree seedlings. And we grow about 50 different species a year, the most common being loblolly and longleaf pine.
The state nursery has elevated the process of growing pine seedlings to the precision of a factory assembly line.
It's a multi-step process. We use a mixture of peat moss, vermiculite, perlite, slow-release fertilizer, and feed it over as necessary into the flat-filling machine. And it's vibrated so that it settles down into the cavities.
From here, the potting soil is tamped down, then sent under a vacuum seeder, and on to the watchful eyes of 2 workers who fill in where the machine has missed. Next comes a top dressing of vermiculite to cover the seeds. And finally, the trays are wet in a water tunnel to help hold everything in place. In just a few days, small shoots appear. And in a few weeks, there is a vast sea of green pine plants. In about 6 months, they are ready for planting.
Longleaf pines thrive in sandy soil where the roots can grow deeply. Once you plant it, it puts out a lot more root growth than it does growth above the ground. After about 3 to 4 years, they grow tall quickly. This tree right here is about 5 years old. In about 4 to 5 more years, it'll be producing needles like the trees behind us. This bunch of needles grew in 2006. That'll be next year's pine straw. This thin layer right here is what grew the droughty year in 2007. This thick bundle of needles is 2008 that grew in a not so droughty year. These will come off in 2011.
In a society that uses machines for almost everything, it's refreshing to see an almost entirely manual operation. But it's best done when you have the best tools for the job.
This is a Kansas header fork. This fork was designed to handle hay, and it's the perfect fork for raking and handling pine straw.
And sometimes the best tool is one that you can make yourself.
This is the perfect example of regressive farming. What we have here is a modified tobacco baler. A very simple machine. You don't have to send to Germany for parts. You can just go down to your local hardware store to get whatever you need. Each time that he puts needles in, he folds it like this to keep its shape and consistency. This lever right here is extra long so that they can put plenty of PSIs on the end of this bale. We used to use mechanical hay balers and mechanical rakes, and we got some dirt into this pine straw. This straw comes out clean. It's not dusty. You can shake it and you can toss it, and there's no dust coming from it. You can see that the twine is tight enough to where it doesn't give a lot when you're picking this up, and this probably weighs 25 pounds. We will take this off the ground today and put it directly into a trailer. It'll be stored there until it's sold. We never leave it on the ground overnight. We don't want the bales to get wet, and we don't want it to harbor any insects.
To cover 100 square feet, it takes about 2 bales of North Carolina longleaf pine needles. Whereas your slash and your loblolly needles, it'll take about 3 bales. These pine needles are longer and they're larger in diameter. It's kind of like comparing your little finger to your thumb.
So the next time you drive by one of those beautifully dressed landscapes, wonder no longer at the source of that perfect pine straw. How simple and how fittingly unassuming to use natural resources in this way. 'Neath the murmuring pines of the Old North State.